Hi, today we will explore about observables. We will explore how observables play an important role in updating parts of a UI component. We have already created a module. For simplicity, we have created a custom blog at homepage. We have specified component.html as a template file. Inside this template file, we have created a div element with an ID km-component and scope binding km-component-scope. Then we have created Magento init script and added the JSON object to define the components. Then inside scope, we have defined a component and a template file. Inside component, we have created simple properties, heading and content with default values. Inside template file, we have created heading with the text binding and specified heading property. Then we have added paragraph element with the HTML binding and specified content property as its parameter. Now let us begin with writing observables. In order to use knockout observables, we will require to add KO as a dependency. Wrap heading value with ko.observable and do same for content. Now, the difference with normal properties is that these properties are capable of detecting change in their values. Hence, they will automatically update the layout. Now, open the template file and add parentheses after the heading property. Add also to the content. For compatibility purposes, the observable objects are actually functions. So when we need to call the property, we call it like a function by specifying parentheses. Flush the cache and remove static content. Open the home page. And we get the content rendered as expected. For now, there will be no change in the content as we have not applied any changes to the content anywhere else. Go ahead and create initialize function. As we are extending this function, so specify this dot underscore super. To update heading observable, specify this dot heading and pass an argument inside parentheses. To write multiple observable properties at once, use chaining syntax. Now flush the cache and remove static content. Reload the home page. The heading and paragraph text has been changed. Open template file and add an input field. Specify attribute data binding. Add type attribute with value text. Now specify the placeholder. Now specify ID attribute with value custom underscore input. Next we will add event data binding and use keyup event to detect the key change. Specify on change input as its callback function. We will create this function in component. Now open component. Create a new function on change input. Inside function, create a variable input field and retrieve and assign input field value using ID selector. Now assign input retrieved value to the content observable. This will also modify the content rendered output. Flush the cache and clear the static content. Reload the home page. This time our custom input field also rendered. Try entering some text inside the input field. This will also modify the above paragraph with the similar input text. Since Knockout already has built-in bindings and templating system which take care of subscriptions, so we do not normally need to create them. However, there could be cases when we can specify the custom subscriptions. Specify the subscription following the name of observable property. Callback function is required and it triggers when a notification happens. It accepts change value as a parameter. Callback is optional. It defines the value of current component or this in callback function. Event is optional and its default value is change. It is the name of event to receive notification for. Specify the subscription following the name of observable property. Specify new value as a change parameter. Let us print this value on console. Concatenate new value parameter with the text. Flash the cache and remove the static content. Reload the home page and open the element inspector. If we start typing, the change value is notified to our custom subscriber, which in turn triggers a specified callback function. Now create a new property counter and make it observable with default value 0. Open the template file and add a paragraph element. Create attribute binding and specify the paragraph ID attribute with value counter. Next, add the text binding and specify a string concatenated with the counter observable property. This will render total characters input so far. Now inside component, replace console log with setting counter property by calculating parameter text length. Specify this keyword in second parameter in order to use inside the callback function. Flash the cache. Reload the home page. As soon as we start entering input, the counter also starts changing with the text length. Let us try with different inputs. So as soon as we enter more characters, the counter increases its value based on the text length. Now create a variable self and assign current instance to it. Create set timeout function and add 4000 milliseconds period. Set heading observable property value similar to the previous specified value. Now add heading subscription. Let us alert something to observe whenever changes are applied. Flush the cache and clear the static content. Reload the page. Wait for 4 seconds to observe the alert. We see the alert didn't work because observer property was set to similar value. To ensure that, we should use built-in always extender. This will always notify the subscribers even the value is similar. We specify the extender followed by the property name and it accepts a JavaScript object as a parameter. And then add notify key with value always. Flush the cache and remove the static content. Now wait for 4 seconds. The alert message shown as soon the heading value is modified. An observer normally notifies its subscriber immediately as soon as a change occurs. If there are repeated changes or expensive updates, we can get performance out of it by limiting the observers and change notifications. This can be achieved by using rate limit extender. We specify the rate limit as an option inside the extend function. The rate limit value is an integer. Now modify the content observable value by chaining with the heading observable property. Concatenate some text after parameter value. Then concatenate the content with text. So we can observe the change in content observable as well. Flush the cache and remove the static content. Reload the home page. Wait for alert message. In alert message, the heading content changed, but we still see the old content for content property. If we press OK button from alert message, the further execution is performed and content property value is also modified. However, we need to display the changed content value. We can achieve this using the rate limit extender. Add rate limit next to the notify property. Now specify rate limit 50. Flush the cache and clear the static content. Now reload the home page. Wait for alert message. This time the content property modified on alert message along with the heading as expected. That was possible due to the rate limit applied. We can make the observables more useful by creating a separate view model returning the observable. Then this observable view model can be used in different components by injecting as a dependency. So writing its value in a component allow other components to read the modified value from this observable. Now go ahead and create model directory under JS folder. Then create counter.js file. Then add ko as dependency. And finally return ko.observable instance. Now open the component file and add counter model as dependency. No underscore module, JS model, and then counter. Specify counter instance. Now replace counter property assignment with observable counter object. And do same for this dot counter property. The counter observable object will keep track of the value update and then will also update this dot counter property for component. Flush the cache and clear static and generated content. Now reload the home page. Notice the undefined value of counter. This is because we have not provided the default value to counter observable. However, the counter changes as expected when value in input field is modified. Now open counter model and pass 0 as an argument. Flush the cache and clear the static content. Reload the home page again. Now the counter value rendered correctly. As soon the content changes, the counter value is also modified accordingly. Now open component.phml template file. Under km-component-scope, we will add a child component. The purpose of adding this child component is to show the flexibility of choosing the observable model we created. Create children node. Specify the component name counter-component. Now specify the component. no underscore module JS view counter dash component. Now specify the component template. No underscore module counter template. And the last and most important thing is to specify the display area. Name the display area counter dash component. Now let's go ahead and create component counter dash component file. Specify UI component dependency. Specify counter model dependency. Now under default object array, create count property and assign counter observable object to it. Now go ahead and create template file counter dash template.html. Create a paragraph element, then add attribute data binding. Now add id attribute and specify counter2 as its value. Now add HTML data binding and specify its value. Append counter property. Now open template file kmtemplate.html. The last part is to render the display area. We will use loop to render the template. Specify display area counter dash component. Then render the template. Flush the cache and clear the static content. Now reload the home page. Now we can see the child template is rendered as expected. The counter observable model is working for all components. If we make any changes to input field, the counter works correctly for both components. And if we take a look at elements using the element inspector, the child rendered template is wrapped between the loop. I hope you liked this video. Please subscribe and share. Thank you.